Welcome back. We are continuing our study in the Gospel of Matthew as the Messiah continues to confirm the covenant with Israel. And of course, now we're going to be looking at Matthew chapter 24. Now, as a Christian, when I was looking at Matthew 24, I was taught to look at Matthew 24 as the end of the world. Okay? Told to look at Matthew 24 as the end of the world. And there are signs that are similar to what's going to be the return of the Messiah in Matthew 24. And we'll read that. But Matthew 24 is really, when you actually look at the whole Bible, it's a prelude to our slavery. It's a prelude to our slavery. And then later in that chapter, our slavery and then our deliverance. Okay, it's a prelude to our slavery and our deliverance, because as we look at the Bible indicated, of course, that the true Hebrews would be enslaved, and not only enslaved, but scattered to the four corners of the earth, right? So we would be a scattered people that would be enslaved, right? Right? So that is part of what Matthew 24, because as we saw, in fact, let me look at this here. We saw, let me just look at the whole Bible right now. We saw that the Bible showed us, in fact, where were we? I'm going to look at, first let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 to begin. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Yes, Deuteronomy chapter 28. And let's start there. And we'll look, because most people, for some reason, well, especially those people that are not understanding who the true Hebrews are, they surely don't understand where the true Hebrews are, as most people that are brainwashed think the true Hebrews are now in the land of the state of Israel. And that is not the case. The Bible doesn't show us that. So let's look and see what the Bible does tell us about the true Hebrews and where they'll be, okay? And what's their situation, okay? Now let's start at Deuteronomy chapter 28, and I'm going to read from verse 64. Deuteronomy chapter 28, and let's start at verse 64. Deuteronomy 28, 64. Okay, let's see. And Yahweh shall, here we are. Deuteronomy 28, 64. And Yahweh shall scatter thee. Moses is talking to the Hebrew Israelite. And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even to the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But Yahweh shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would the Most High that it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would the Most High that it were morning. For the fear of thy heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. There ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So again, the Bible is very plainly telling us in Deuteronomy that we would be scattered throughout the earth. Again, let's take a look at Jeremiah chapter 9. Jeremiah chapter 9. Jeremiah chapter 9. We can go to Isaiah also. We'll stop there for a minute. But Jeremiah chapter 9. See what it says there. Jeremiah chapter 9, and I have it marked here. Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 16. Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 16. Again, getting the requisite 2 or 3 witnesses. Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 16. And I will scatter them also among the heathen, whom neither they nor their fathers have known. And I will send a sword after them till I have consumed them. Talking about, again, the Hebrew Israelites. So he said he would scatter us among the heathen. He would scatter us throughout the earth, right? And so, wait a minute. Let's get some more witnesses. Let's get some more witnesses. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Zechariah, because Zechariah also tells us why the Most High decided to highlight the 4 nations or 4 empires that he highlighted. Okay, let's take a look in Zechariah chapter 1. Zechariah chapter 1, beginning at verse 15 and going to verse 21. Zechariah chapter 1, beginning at verse 15 and going to verse 21. I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies, and my house shall be built in it, saith Yahweh of hosts. And a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry yet, saying, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and Yahweh shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Then lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. And Yahweh showed me 4 carpenters. Then said I, what come these to do? And he spake, saying, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over it in the land of Judah, to scatter it. So again, there's 3 witnesses saying, Israel shall be scattered and placed in slavery and hunted, right? We see all that. The Bible shows us that. So, and of course, let's get enough just to make sure all right, let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel is another one. Ezekiel, let's see. Ezekiel chapter 36. Ezekiel chapter 36 is another one I have marked. And you should mark these also, because one of the things that people that are ignorant to this truth don't understand is the present condition of the true Israelites. And of course, as we have been awakened, one of the things that have awakened us are the curses that have been placed on us, how they only could match us. We're the only people on earth that match those curses, and our state of being a scattered people, a scattered nation. Okay, so in Ezekiel chapter 36, I'm going to start at verse 17 and go down to verse 19. This is Ezekiel chapter 36, 17 to 19. Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way and by their doings. Their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman. Wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it. And I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries, according to their way, according to their doings, I judged them. So now we have what? We had Ezekiel, Jeremiah, we have Moses, and Zechariah. So we had 4, and I could give you Isaiah. We can go to Zephaniah. Certainly we have others we can definitely look at, right? So there's at least 5, maybe 6 witnesses of the Bible that tell us our condition That's right. Nehemiah. Thank you, Brother Mark. At least there's many witnesses that tell us what our condition is. Now, there are some, and this is where we want to start with the Matthew 24. There are some that would say, well, that already happened in Babylon. That already happened in Persia. They were scattered. Yes, but there's a difference this time. And that was what we've been reading a lot in Daniel chapter 9. Okay, so let's go to Daniel. Let's go to Daniel and look at chapter 9 again, because this is the difference. There's a difference this time where we are now. Okay, and that difference is marked by the destruction of Jerusalem that Messiah is talking about in Matthew 24. Okay, because if you recall, after the Messiah was crucified and resurrected and was ascended to become the high priest for us, right? At the time of the early rain in Acts chapter 2, it was the feast of course, that matched the early rain, the Feast of Weeks or Pentecost, right? That was the feast that went with that early rain. And the Bible says there were Jews from every nation under heaven because of all the previous scatterings that had taken place, okay, from the time of Babylon to the Medes and the Persians and the Greeks, and then finally the Romans. So there had been scatterings before. And there was even, as we know, Jerusalem being destroyed before. But then in Daniel 9, Daniel is a captive in ancient Babylon, and Daniel is a captive awaiting, and that's what Daniel 9 is about, the return of the captives and the rebuilding of Jerusalem. That's what he wants, right? So now Gabriel's going to tell him about that, but then he's going to tell him something else. And again, this is Daniel chapter 9, talking about Messiah, and he's going to talk about the rebuilding of Jerusalem. And let's start at verse, let's see, 25 down to 27. Daniel chapter 9, 25 to 27. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem. So Gabriel is prophesying to Daniel about the restoring and building of Jerusalem that had been destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar's army of Babylon. Okay, so to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, 62 weeks, and the street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city. So now it's going to be rebuilt and it's going to be destroyed. Destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause sacrifice and oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Even in Daniel chapter 11, it's mentioned again when it talks about the arms of a flood that shall come and destroy the city. This is Daniel chapter 11, verse 22. Daniel chapter 11, verse 22. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overthrown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. So he's saying Messiah will be killed and the city's going to be destroyed. Okay, so that one is different, because when that one took place, and this is the result, what Messiah gave us, and again, we read this earlier, but in Luke chapter 21, what Messiah gave us, Luke chapter 21, talking about our people, in Luke chapter 21, verse 24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So now this last time of being scattered would be worse than all the previous times, in that we would go into captivity, into all nations. Okay, so it would be worse. So when Messiah is talking in Matthew 24, he's given a prelude to this. Okay, that would take place, that we would be scattered into all nations as into captivity. And therefore, he's showing you the state of the people of Israel in the last days. No, John and Daniel are two different. And that's actually what Hazak brings up as a good point. He asked, could brother Daniel be John? No, he's not John the Revelator. And that's actually a point in that is showing you the consistency of the Father's witness, right? So Daniel lived many centuries before John. John came along at the time when the prophesying of the Messiah said, 7 weeks, 62 weeks, 483 years, right? So Daniel lived 483 years before John. But they have the same witness. Why? Because it's the same Father. And that's the beauty of the whole Bible. The same witness is the Father. And he's given the same message to the same Hebrew Israelite prophets that are all telling us the same thing. Right? So now that's the first point too, though. Matthew 24 is not only going to be talking about the return of the Messiah, but it's going to be talking about our scattering, the scattering of the Hebrew Israelite people. Okay, the scattering of the Hebrew Israelite people. Now, as you saw what we just read in Luke 21, the Messiah is saying these things so that there's a warning to those that could be escaping this problem of getting killed or destroyed, right? There's a warning, right? And I want to make sure we understand before we continue. Did y'all see the word Bible study in big bold letters on the thumbnail of the title of this Bible study? Did it say Bible study in big bold letters? I just want to make sure that, okay, and we saw it, right? So it did say Bible study. It didn't say New York Knicks. It said Bible study. Okay, I want to make sure that I did that so that anybody coming in understands what business is taking place here, right? I don't want to fool anybody or have anybody confused. It said Bible study, right? So that's what we're doing. All right. So first thing is that they will be scattered. We will be scattered. Okay, we'd be scattered. Second thing that we must consider is the prophecy of the falling away. Okay, the prophecy of the falling away. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go to Thessalonians. First, we're going to use both in this case, First and Second Thessalonians. So First Thessalonians, the Apostle Paul is going to talk about all of these Hebrews that's chasing him all over the world. And they were literally doing that, chasing him all over the world. Okay, and let's look at that. First Thessalonians chapter 2. First Thessalonians chapter 2. Notice what it says. I'm going to begin in First Thessalonians chapter 2. Let's see. He's talking, of course, to Gentile converts to the Hebrew Messiah. I'm going to start at verse 14 of First Thessalonians chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 14, and I'm going to read from verse 14 down to verse 16. First Thessalonians chapter 2 from 14 to 16. Then I'm going to go to Second Thessalonians, okay? Because we got to talk about the falling away. For ye, brethren, became followers of the churches or assemblies of Yahweh, which are in Judea, which in Judea are in Messiah YHWH. For ye also have suffered like things of your own countrymen, even as they have of the Jews. So the Gentiles suffered attacks from other Gentiles for following the God of the Hebrews. And the Hebrew followers of Messiah, the way, were suffering attacks from their Hebrew brethren, just like now, right? So Brother Mark, I use you for an example again, Brother Mark is a follower of the Hebrew Messiah. And Brother Mark will tell you, his family's not very happy with that. Brother Mark, am I telling the truth? His family's not very happy with this man that's a European following the Hebrew Messiah. They're not very happy that he's doing that. Okay. And I think that's the case with all of the children of Japhet that would follow the Hebrew Messiah. Okay. All of them. Okay. Just like, again, us who are the bloodline Hebrews, if we decide to leave white Jesus alone, we talked about this, we'll be outcast from our own families, will we not? You don't know that. They won't like us very much. They will not be happy with us because we're not going to church. Not going to church. Right? Somebody told me, you like an Adam. You're like an independent Adam out there lost. Because I'm not in their church, their assembly. Praise the Most High. Okay? So here okay, let's continue. So he says, let's start again. For ye, brethren, became followers of the churches of Yahweh, which in Judea are in Messiah Yahushua. For ye also have suffered like things of your own countrymen, even as they have of the Jews, who both killed the Master Yahushua and their own prophets, and have persecuted us, and they please not Yahweh, and are contrary to all men, forbidding us to speak to the Gentiles that they might be saved, to fill up their sins always, for the wrath is come upon them to the uttermost. See? So, after the ascension of Messiah, the crucifixion and ascension of Messiah, there was an attack on the followers of Messiah that were Hebrews. And those Hebrews, like Paul and Barnabas, who was sent to the Gentiles to tell them about the Hebrew Messiah, they were attacked. The people Gentiles that received that truth were attacked by their own Gentile brethren. Okay, so that both the Hebrews that followed Messiah were attacked, and the Gentiles that followed the Hebrew Messiah were attacked. Why do I bring that up? Because we're talking about a falling away. Okay, so there was in the first century people who were not called Christians, but followers of the way, and they were seeking the Hebrew Messiah, and then there were going to be a falling away from that. Okay, and that brings us to 2 Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians, going to begin at verse of chapter 2, 2 Thessalonians also, chapter 2. And I'm going to go from chapter 2, verse 1 down to chapter 2, verse 4. This is 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2, verse 1 down to chapter 2, verse 4. And again, what many people, both Hebrews and Gentiles, don't understand is that Paul spent a lot of his letters quoting the Bible, especially, the Bible then being the Old Testament. He quoted it a lot. And it would really do us well to look at what he was quoting in its context to understand what he was saying. It really would do us well. Look at what he was quoting and then go back and find it in the Old Testament and look at what he was saying. It's a different thing than people are interpreting it as. Much different. You'll see that when you look at it, okay? So let's take a look at 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 from 1 to 4. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of the Master Yahushua the Messiah, and by our own gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that day of Messiah is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called most high, or that is worship, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of your Most High, showing himself that he is Most High. See? So there got to come a falling away. What is a falling away from the truth? And we'll see that in a second. I'll show you the witnesses of what he was talking about in the Old Testament. But there must come a falling away first. And when that falling away takes place, there's going to be a regathering of the Hebrews, the scattered Hebrews, which is where we are right now. Okay. Also, I want to point this out by using, some of the people have asked me, and I want to say it, when I see the word G-O-D in the New Testament, I do not use the general term G-O-D. I use the word that I know to be the Father's name or the Messiah's name. Why do I do that? Let me ask you a question. Are you ready? Here's a question for today. This is more like, not just a Bible question, a history question, okay? So let me ask you, as far as you know, is the letter J in the Hebrew or the Greek? Is there a letter J in the Hebrew or the Greek? Is there a letter J in there? No, there's no J. They have a Y, Yah sound, right? It's a Y sound, right? Okay, so it didn't exist. Now, okay, at the time of the King James Bible being written in 1611, it was actually finished in 1611. It was started prior to that. And of course, the King James Bible, if you look it up, 80% of it is a word for word copy of the Tyndale Bible. Was there a letter J in English at that time? In the end of the 16th and the beginning of the 17th century, did the letter J exist? And no, it did not. And how do we know that? Because if you look up an original King James Bible, there is no J in it. There's no J anywhere. Where instead of a J, you'll see an IA, which means the Yah sound. And in fact, they called the Messiah Jesus, right? When you go find a 1611 version, King James Version, the English is completely different, and they use the word Jesus. And in fact, in Spanish right now, they don't use the word J with like Ja the way we say it. When they call their children, they say what? Jesus. There was this boy in Miami Heat. His name is Jaime, and I kept calling him Jamie. And somebody said, no, his name's not Jamie. And he said, no, it's Jaime. And I was like, Jaime Jaquez. And I said, oh, because they use the H sound and no J sound, because even in Latin, originally, it was no J, which is where Spanish comes from. See, so, all right. So now we understand that. Okay. And I'm saying this for those, not just for all y'all who understand it, but it's for people that are listening to this that may have not heard this before. So if there is no J, when the King James Bible was translated from Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic to English, there was no J, and they used Yah. And there was no J, and there's still no J in the Greek alphabet. And there was no J, and there's still no J in the Hebrew alphabet. Is it possible that at that time of the Messiah's appearance, they called him Jesus? Do you think they called him Jesus at the time he walked the earth 2,000 years ago? Did they actually say Jesus at that time? It would be impossible. Is that correct? It would be impossible for them to say the word Jesus, because why? There was no J. And Jesus is a name of a Greek god, which we all have heard of, called Zeus. Isn't that correct? Jesus. Right? So they use that for the Messiah. Jesus. And so again, that means that when Messiah walked the earth, nobody said Jesus. Not the disciples, not the Gentiles. No one that saw him used the name Jesus. And I think we can safely also say they did not use the name of a Greek god, Zeus. Y'all got that? So when the Bible says at the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow, we know that that's not the name. We know that's not the name. Not at the name of Jesus, because they did not call him that. Okay, they did not call him that. So it's my conviction, let me say it that way. It's my conviction that by saying the proper name that I'm convicted, his name is YHWH. And if you can imagine this, again, as YHWH or Yahushua, and I'm not arguing about that way you say it, whether you say Yahushua or YHWH or Yeshaya, whichever way you say it, right? Each of those ways means something, by the way. They all mean a form of Yah saves, right? All of them. Now, look, if I'm Paul and I'm writing to Gentiles about the Hebrew Messiah, wouldn't it be appropriate for me to use his name, like his Hebrew name? So I'm writing to Gentiles and I'm telling them about this Savior, this Messiah, and he would be YHWH. So that when a Gentile looks at the letter and he sees the apostle anointed of the Father and he's reading about this YHWH, would not the Gentiles' mind understand? He's talking about this Hebrew man, about this Israelite, right? He wouldn't say, well, that's a Christian he's talking about. That's a Christian. Let me raise my hand and trust in Jesus. That's not what he's saying. No, he's reading about YHWH, right? Not only that, the Gentiles worship Diana, a goddess, Baal, the sun god, right? Several gods, right? They worship all kinds of gods. Isn't that correct? Zeus, right? They worship all kinds of gods. So for him to say Yahweh, the Gentile that's reading that epistle, he's reading about a God called Yahweh. They know that's the God of the Hebrews, right? They know that. They're reading that and they're saying, that's the God of the Hebrews. Right? Am I right about that? So that's why I make it a point in the King James to say Yahweh, YHWH. Why? Because that's what they would read. That's how they would say it. They're not going to say Jesus or God. They're definitely not going to just say that God is a Dios. It just means it means in a deity. It could be any deity. You understand? It could be any deity. God could be any deity. Even the Muslims that call the Most High Allah. Allah is not a name. Allah is not a name. It's like God. It's the Muslim way of saying God. Like Al is the Most High, right? So when you look up Allah, and actually Allah is in the King James Bible in the Hebrew, they say ELAH, Allah. But that's not his name. It's a general name for a general deity. His name, as he said to Moses, by my name they did not know me, Yahweh. Right. Thank you, Brother Kelly. That's exactly right. A title. That's exactly right. Brother Stephen Kelly, thank you. It's a title. Allah is a title. God is a title. But who is the title for? Well, we're telling you it's for Yahweh or YHWH. That's his name. And when the angel Gabriel came and said, you shall call his name, it wasn't Jesus. It wasn't Jesus. You shall call his name Jesus? No. I think anybody understand. That's not his name. Okay. All right. So that's why I make it a point to use his name, even though I'm reading the King James Version, because I have to understand. And that's the thing, brethren. I'm not trying to sound arrogant. Please don't take it that way. I'm not. But only his people would know his name. You hear me? Only his people would know his name. It's not given to the Gentiles to know his name, except they hear it from the Hebrews. Because that's the thing about being his people. We are called by his name and we know his name. So somebody said, well, how do I know? How are you convicted, Hebrew? How are you convicted? And follow your conviction. The Bible does tell us in Zephaniah, he's going to return to us a pure language. The language has been corrupted. We all know that. The Bible tells us, and we can see it. It's okay. He's going to return to us a pure language. We're all going to know it. Okay? So it's right. We are the only people the Bible shows us that he has revealed his name to. We're the only people that have actually heard his voice. No other people has. We're the only people that he has actually given his statutes and judgments to. So what am I saying? We were created by him to be one with him. That's what makes us chosen. Okay? That's a testament to his power. Praise the Most High. So now, Paul said that the Messiah will not return until there's a falling away. So we see Messiah getting ready to tell us the beginning of our captivity in Matthew 24. But then what happens after that? In the first century, there was a strong faith in the Messiah, strong faith among the Hebrews and the Gentile converts, which is represented of the first of the 7 churches in the church of Ephesus. Then comes the attack on us in the church of Smyrna, which comes next. Then comes the falling away, the 3rd church, Pergamos, which in the Bible of Revelation in the 3rd church, Balaam is introduced. Balaam is introduced. A turncoat, a sellout is introduced. That's the turning away. Then the 4th one, Jezebel, the one in the apostasy that decided to take over the nation. There's your Catholic Church. Okay, so let's look up the prophecy, though, in Daniel chapter 8. Daniel chapter 8. Daniel says it several times, but I like chapter 8 because it gives us a good, clear picture of what the falling away would do in terms of the man of sin. Okay, in Daniel chapter 8, it tells us what it would do in terms of the man of sin. So, and the man of sin came out of one of the 4 divisions that were the Greek Empire. The Greek Empire came first, and then Alexander the Great poisoned himself to death, and they killed his children, and his 4 generals took over the empire, and they divided it between north, south, east, and west. And their names in the north was Seleucus, and the name in the south was Ptolemy. Out of Seleucus came Rome, and that's what's going to be shown here. So let's look at Daniel chapter 8, and let's go to verse 9 and read from verse 9 down to verse 12. Daniel chapter 8 from verse 9 to verse 12. This is the falling away, and then we'll skip down as he talks more about this later in the chapter. Okay, and out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground. Cast the truth to the ground. That's the falling away. And it practiced and prospered. In the common vernacular, that is the rise of Christianity. Okay, now you go down in chapter 8 some more, and he talks more about this little horn. Notice what he says, verse 23. Actually, let me start. So he talks about Greece, because I told you it came out one of the original 4 divisions of Greece, right? So let me start at verse 20 and go to Media Persia, go through Greece, and then we'll talk about the little horn again, which is the falling away. So let's read Daniel chapter 8 from verse 20 down to verse 25. Daniel chapter 8 from verse 20 down to verse 25. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king, Alexander the Great of Greece. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. That's not from Alexander the Great. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences, secrets, shall stand up. and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. We'll read that in Revelation in a second. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people, us. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, deceit. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. And he shall also stand up against the Prince of Princes, that is Messiah, but he shall be broken without hand. Praise the Most High. He shall stand up, but not in his own power. Revelation chapter 13, the falling away. Revelation chapter 13, we know this one. Revelation 13, beginning at verse 1. Revelation 13 from verse 1. Actually, verse 1 and 2. Revelation 13, verse 1 and 2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And here's the part right here. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority, not of his own power. The dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. This is the falling away. This is the rise of the beast. That is the Vatican City and the Vatican office of the Pope. Okay, followed by the image to the beast, or another beast that looked like a lamb and speaks like a dragon. The United States of America looks like a lamb. Say it representing a lamb, which is white Jesus, which is not, but it really is a dragon. Praise the Most High. So you see the falling away. So now Matthew 24 is talking about us going into captivity. And then later there'll be a falling away. And then the Messiah will return. And when the Messiah returns, again, let's go back to Revelation chapter 6. Revelation chapter 6, which talks about the delay in his return. This is Revelation chapter 6, which is the 6th seal, which is where we live. Revelation chapter 6. Actually, when you're looking at Revelation 6, right, from verse 12, we'll read from verse 12 to down to verse chapter 7 and verse 4. But all of that from Revelation chapter 12, from Revelation chapter 6, verse 12, all through chapter 7 is the 6th seal. All of that is the 6th seal. Just like when you read the 6th trumpet, it starts in Revelation chapter 9 and goes all the way through to Revelation chapter 11. And so all of those events are the 6th trumpet. All of these events are the 6th seal. And I want you to notice who's mentioned in the 6th seal. Revelation chapter 6, beginning at verse 12 and going down to chapter 7 and verse 4. And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, that is north, south, east, and west, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Most High. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Most High in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. So there's a falling away, and then after the falling away, there's a recovering of the children of Israel, and there from the scattering, and there's a seal of the 144,000. And then the carpenters of Zechariah come and scatter and fix the Gentiles for scattering Judah. Y'all got it? So Messiah in Matthew 24 is giving us the beginning part of the destruction of the Jerusalem, the final destruction before the new Jerusalem comes, and the scattering of us into slavery, and his return, which is gathering us back together on the sea of glass. Praise the Most High. So Matthew 24 is really giving us that picture. Now, in that picture of our scattering and of our enslavement, we also know it's a picture of the Gentile destruction and their enslavement, because it's going to be their turn very soon. Y'all got that? Right? Because very soon they're going to get their turn. See, it's our turn to rule, and it's going to be their turn to be enslaved. Praise the Most High. Right? So it's showing what happens to us. Because remember, the Bible said it. You think, he said in Jeremiah chapter 25, you think I'm going to punish my people and not punish y'all? And then in Zechariah, we just read, I punished my people, but y'all went crazy. Y'all forwarded the affliction. So he got some problems with them. So now Messiah going to explain to us how we went into slavery and how they turn next. Okay, they next. All right. Now Matthew chapter 24. So we know there's going to be a falling away after Messiah is resurrected and ascended. There's going to be a push of the gospel message of the Father's righteousness of the Hebrews. Then there's going to be a falling away, which is what happened. Then you get the rise of the man of sin, which is Christianity. And then a returning of the Hebrews to their Father. Oh, in terms of the returning, let me give you my favorite, if I could share with you my favorite verse in terms of our return. Let's take a look at that. This is Deuteronomy, same Deuteronomy. We started off with Deuteronomy. So let's finish this section, this part with Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 30. Oh, I love this one. Deuteronomy chapter 30. And this, remember how we read in Luke chapter 21 that Messiah said that we would be scattered and taken into captivity, and that the Gentiles would trodden down Jerusalem until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled? Well, in Deuteronomy 30, it tells you when the times of the Gentiles would be fulfilled. Let's read it. Deuteronomy chapter 30, beginning at verse 1. Love this one. Beginning at verse 1 and going down to verse 4. This is Deuteronomy chapter 30 from verse 1 to verse 4. I want you to notice what the change is that causes the turnaround. Ready? Here we go. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations where the Yahweh thy Most High hath driven thee, and shalt return unto Yahweh thy Most High, and shalt obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy Most High will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations where the Yahweh thy Most High has scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy Most High gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. So it starts, it said, it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee. That is the blessing and the curse of Deuteronomy 28. The blessing that happened when we first got the land, and the curse that happened when we got put into captivity, right? So when all these things come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, the last of it being the curse, right? Then it says, and thou shalt call them to mind. So we're in our enemy's land. We're scattered. We've been cursed. And we called to mind all of this. And we say, wait a minute. That's when we're discovering who we are. And as we discover who we are, he says, and shalt return to Yahweh thy most high. So we're leaving the gods of the nations, wood and stone, and we're returning to Yahweh our most high. That's the beginning of the end of the Gentiles. Does that make sense, y'all? So as we're awakening, our awakening is the end of the Gentiles. And guess what? We're here. All of us are here because we're awakening, right? That's why we're here. We wouldn't be here if we weren't awakening. That's why we're here. So the awakening of the Hebrews is the sign that the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Very simple, isn't it? Very simple. That's it. Our awakening is their time. Time is up. Okay, we're starting to awaken. We back now. Time is up. Here we come. Okay, and the Most High will, and the reason is because the Father Yah responds to our awakening because why? He caused it. The Father caused our awakening, and then as we respond to His Spirit, He's now saying, "Oh, those are my people. Those are my people. I'm going to rescue them. I'm going to come get them. Those are my people." And that caused the times of the Gentiles to be fulfilled. Praise the Most High. You see, nobody can stop that. There is no thing that anyone can do to stop the Spirit of the Father from awakening us. Nothing can stop that. And as long as that happens, then we know now. Then it's the Father who has time in His hands is saying, it's time. It's time. Praise the Most High. And we know now. It is time. We're awakening because of Him. It's time. Praise the Most High. So now, let's go to Matthew 24. And now Messiah is going to break this down for His disciples. We're not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read from verse 1, probably from verse 1 down to verse 15, where he talks about Daniel, which we just read Daniel, right? So let's go from Matthew chapter 24, from verse 1 to verse 15. And YHWH went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And YHWH said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And YHWH answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Messiah, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall arise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. Then shall the end come. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Let's stop here. Now, let's go and look at this quick now. So Daniel, the abomination that maketh desolate. Daniel talked about the abomination that maketh desolate. It is Rome. So what did Rome do at the time of the Messiah that caused the destruction of Jerusalem. Caesar put his image in the temple. That was it. The Most High showed that to his people. He said, when you see the abomination spoken of by Daniel, see it stand in the holy place. That is the temple. So Caesar put his image in the temple. When he did that, those that were listening to Messiah knew that it's time for us to cut out of here, because that was abominable to put his image in the temple. Okay. So that was the beginning of the boldness that later became the Roman Catholic Church and Christianity. Okay. Then it talked about many false prophets arising. It talked about that people will deliver us, right? Why? We are scattered, right? Why would they deliver us? Because people are looking for us. Why are they looking for us? Because we're going to be blamed for all of the problems. Like Helene, there's going to be a lot more Helenes, y'all. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot more Helenes, a lot more fires, earthquakes, a lot of stuff coming. And because we're not part of the 3 Abrahamic religions, we'll be looked upon with suspicion, as we already are. If you're paying attention, somebody say, how come you're not going to church? Has anybody ever asked you that, in your family especially? But any of your family or friends or acquaintances ever said to you, how come you don't go to church? And when you tell them, I'm an awakened Hebrew, how do they look at you? They look at you, what cult you in? What cult you in? Right? Brethren, that will get more intense as each, I was going to say year, but yeah, as each year passes, that's going to get more intense. Going to get more intense. How come you never go to church? What do you believe? And you know why they'll ask you that? Because they can see that you are a follower of some sort of religious persuasion, because you're not acting like the rest of them. And so if you say, I am a follower of the Bible, they're going to look at you strange. They're going to look at you strange. I've had people actually say to me, if you follow the Bible only, you're going to be lost. Yes, I've had multiple people say it to me. If you follow the Bible only, you're going to be lost. See? You follow the Bible only, you're going to be lost. How are you going to follow the Bible only? See that? And it's going to get more intense. Okay? So don't be surprised at that. And that's what Messiah is talking about. Until it gets to the point where they'll be actively looking for us. And at that point, most of us will be where well, hopefully all of us will be where the Most High has us be on the earth, wherever that is. But they'll be looking for us. They'll be looking for us, and they're going to arrest. Like he said, it said, what did he say? He said, they shall deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. No matter where you are. That's what I'm saying. It's about all of us are going to have to make a testimony. We're going to have to stand, and the Father Yah is going to put in our mouth the words that he wants us to speak. But we're going to make a stand. We're going to bear our witness for the Most High Yah and the Messiah, his son. We're going to bear witness, brethren. You ain't got to try. You really don't. All you got to try to do is stick with your Father. He's going to put the words in your mouth, and they will come at you. See, it's not that we're separating from Babylon purposely on our own, except in the religious sense. We are. We're leaving the religion of Babylon. But as long as you have bank accounts and you own property, or you're renting somebody's house, or you get SSI or Social Security, you're still in Babylon. They kick you out of that part. And they will kick you out of that part when you bear witness as to who you are. Okay? But it's okay, because we must be separated from Babylon in the final analysis to be accepted by the kingdom of Messiah. You can't be accepted by the kingdom of Messiah and still have a foot in Babylon. And all of us must have a foot in Babylon. We don't know anything else, but it's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. You're going to be all right. And when it's time, he'll take care of you. It's like, so like Brother Joe said, am I on, because I'm on SSI? Well, who pays SSI? Does y'all pay SSI or does the government pay SSI? And I'm not telling you to give up your SSI. I'm telling you they're going to kick you off it eventually. That's what I'm saying to you. I'm not saying you, listen, I'm not telling y'all to give up nothing. Keep everything you got until it's time. And you ain't got to worry about it. They'll tell you when it's time. The government will say, either you comply or we'll cut this off. It's going to come down to that. Okay? It's going to come down to that. And don't worry. Don't worry. That's why we trust in the Father's Spirit. Because the Father's Spirit gives us the power of grace. Grace is not just some word that they use in Sunday churches. It's a real power that's given to us. The Bible says, with great power gave the apostles witness of the Master YHWH, and great grace was upon them all. The Father will give us the power of his grace for real when we need it. It ain't going to be no joke, and we'll be all right. Don't you worry about it. But for now, do what you do. For now, work, get your Social Security, get your SSI, do all that. But be understanding, understand they're going to take it from you eventually. They're going to take everything you got. Okay? They're going to take everything you got. But you're not going to be, see, I'm sitting in this house. I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to come a time I'm going to be somewhere else. I don't know where. I'm going to be in some woods, some mountains, some jungle, and they'll take all my stuff. Okay. What did the Israelites have when they walked through the Red Sea? Only thing they had is what they could carry. Right? And really, the Most High provided for them. Well, brethren, he will also provide us for us too. And Moses bore witness that for 40 years, their feet didn't get swole, their clothes didn't get old, their shoes didn't wear out. The Most High kept them for 40 years. He'll keep us too. And that's what I'm saying. It's for us to be willing to be trained by the Most High. But the preparation is on the Father. He must prepare us, and he is. He's preparing us. Don't worry about it. Okay, really. The only worry, I would tell my wife today, the only worry I have is if I do something stupid and leave the Father. That's the only worry I have. If I'm still with the Father in a repentant spirit, I'm not worried because I know he got me. But I'm worried that I will do something stupid and leave the Father. And I don't want to do that. That's the only concern I have. Okay, and that's the only concern you should have. As long as you're with the Father and you have a repentant spirit, he will be with you. You are his. And that means something to him. He's not going to let the devil triumph over you. You belong to him. Okay? You belong to him. So stay with him and you'll be all right. And again, I'm not telling you that you must walk perfect. I'm telling you, you must trust perfect. You must trust perfect. That's different, isn't it? You must trust perfect. That means you must be in perfect trust of your Father and you must trust his perfection. You must be in perfect trust of your Father and you must trust his perfection because that's what's going to carry you through. Praise the Most High. Okay? So there, don't worry. It's not about worry. It's about trust. It's not about worry. And we'll get plenty to worry about. Don't worry. That stuff coming. But you know what? Just trust the Most High. Keep getting to his word. Keep getting into prayer. He will provide for you. He will turn things around for you. He really will. The Most High shows me that, and he shows y'all too. I'm sure y'all can give testimony just like me. I ain't unique in that. All y'all can give a testimony. You know it, and I know it, right? Just like I say in June, they were ready to fire me in June, man. My job was ready to fire me in June. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to trust the Father. If he wants me to leave this job, then I'll leave it. If he wants me to stay, I'll stay. But I want to do it, doing the best that I can. And I was starting to look for a job. I said, let me look for a job, man, because I got a couple of years I got to work before I can retire. I was getting a little worried. But then he completely turned the whole thing around. And he was showing me it's not on your job. It's on me. It's not about your job. Just like this week. That hurricane came through, man. People ain't got a house no more. 46,000 people ain't got a house no more. We got ours. Why? Because it wasn't about us. It was the Father deciding, I got you. Just like y'all. I got you. Praise the Most High. We'll continue our study in this next week. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom.